Today on How It Works, we're going to talk about airing down and airing up your tires when you are on your adventure. So stay tuned, guys. Welcome to Exploration Overland. My name is Zach, and let's talk about why we should air down our tires when we're on the trail. I've talked about it in other videos before, but because this is a How It Works video, we're going to go into a little more depth. So why do we air down our tires when we get to the trail? When we are on the trail, what is the purpose behind it? So there are a couple purposes behind it. One, it makes the ride way more comfortable. If you're like me, my tires sit about 38 PSI when I'm on the road. If you take 38 PSI onto a trail, it is going to be a very stiff ride. You're going to feel every little tiny bump, and God forbid that you hit washboard roads, corrugations. You're going to shake the living crap out of your rig and out of you. So one of the big reasons why we air down our tires is it makes the ride way more comfortable. Just knocking 20 PSI out of your tires or even more makes the ride 10 times better. It is a much softer feeling. You don't feel every single bump, and if you hit a washboard or a corrugated road, it is not as bad. I say that because unless you have a really long wheelbase vehicle and you air down your tires, you're going to feel those corrugations. I'm sorry, there's nothing that makes it better, it makes it go away, but it can be better. So we air down our tires to make the ride more comfortable. Second, I kind of mentioned it with the corrugations. You air them down so your vehicle isn't getting shaken to death. If you leave your tires at 40 PSI, 38, you leave it at their on-road PSI, you have the ability of shaking things loose on your rig because there's no real cushion happening with the tires. Yeah, it's taking some of the shock, but you're hitting bumps, you're hitting rocks, and it's just hitting all that air pressure that's in your tires, and there's no real give to it. At least not enough for it to make a big difference. And so you're going to be shaking things, you can damage parts, you can do all sorts of things, where if you air it down, all of a sudden you have a little more cushion. So when you hit that rock, there's a little bit of a cushion that absorbs the impact and allows it not to shockwave through your vehicle, if you will, and make things come loose. That's one of the other reasons. And number three, when you air down your tires, I talked about this in my tire video between all-terrains and mud terrains, you get a bigger footprint. And that is a huge deal, guys. Not only does a bigger footprint give you more traction on rocks, dirt, mud, snow, it also allows you to be able to go over top of that surface better than if your tire is inflated. If you leave it inflated and you hit a mud patch, you get into the snow, and you have not aired down your tires, you're going to just make this deep rut, and your vehicle is just going to sink into that surface. Where if you air it down, you get that bigger footprint. It's like having a snowshoe on. If you don't have a snowshoe on and you walk through a deep thing of snow, you're just going to sink in. Where if you put on a snowshoe, you can be able to walk across the top way better, and you're not going to sink in as far. It's the same concept with airing down your tires. You can go across mud, snow, and other surfaces way easier because you have a bigger footprint to spread out over top of that surface, and you're not just going to sink right into the surface. So it is highly important. So that are the reasons why we air down our tires. And it actually does not damage the tires whatsoever, guys. A lot of all-terrains and mud terrains, they are designed to be aired down on the trail and used like that. It's not going to destroy the wear on the tires. It's not going to do those things unless you're like doing some really hardcore rock crawling and you just hit some really sharp rocks, guys. Things happen. You can get punctures on the trail. The strength of the tire is only so good up to, the elements, but airing it down isn't going to damage it at all. So we've talked about why we air them down, Now there are different ways of airing down your tires, and there is no real right or wrong way. It's just kind of whatever works best for you. For instance, you can have things such as what I have in here. These are tire deflators, and they're just these little tiny brass deflators. Actually, they're metal. You have little deflators like this that you can screw on, and you have the ability to adjust it put it on there, and it's going to automatically let air out of your tires until it hits the set adjustment that you've put. Now, these are not the easiest thing in the world to adjust right out the gate, as in they don't have like set numbers on here like, oh, if you screw it this many times, it's this many PSI. Honestly, guys, you have to set these on there, start letting air out, and you either have to watch the gauge within, you know, for instance, on my Jeep, it tells me what the air pressures are. If you have air pressure sensors for your vehicle, if you watch those, it's going to give you a good range of where they're set at, and you can keep adjusting it till you get it to the set tire pressure. Then you can lock it in and it'll always stay there. Mine are always set at about 15 PSI. So when I screw these onto my rig and start letting air out, it's going to go down to 15 PSI and stop. It's not going to let any more air out, which is great. And this is what I mostly use. These were the first tire deflators I got. I absolutely love them. You can do all 4 tires at one time. And like I said, you can set the PSI. It takes a little bit to get it locked in for the first time, but you can set them. Another thing you can do is if you have air inflation hoses that have the ability to also deflate, you can hook these up to your tires. This one has a little gauge on it. I've done a video on the Moreflate system. It's not a sponsor of the channel, but go check it out. The gauge isn't always correct on this thing, but it does have a little gauge. You can hook this all up, you can let air out, you can watch the gauge, or you can walk over to your rig and watch the tire sensors go down. And if you don't have any of that, you get to do the old school way, and you get the little tire checker, and you can check what the pressures are at. So this is another way of doing it that'll allow you to do all 4 tires. If you have just a single air up hose, you can do it that way and just do 1 tire. You also have other components or other tools you can use. I don't have those tools because I just use these, but you have single tire deflators where you hook it up. It's got a little gauge. You start deflating it, you stop it, it tells you where you're at. You can do it 1 tire at a time. Like I said, there's no wrong or right way of doing it. There's just whatever way is, but there are multiple ways of doing it. And once you get your tires deflated, it's super simple. That's it. You got them deflated, put your dust caps back on if you use them, and go hit the trail and have some fun. Now, when you get done, you need to be able to air up your tires, and that's one of the biggest things. This is kind of like a piece of recovery gear that you should have on your rig if you're going to go wheeling. There are lots of times where people go out wheeling, they don't air down their tires, and they don't have any kind of air system with them, and then they get into trouble because their tires were too full. And so they run the risk of getting stuck, getting into trouble, and then they need help to get out of it. Or they air down their tires knowing they don't have an air system, and then you have to drive on the road to a gas station or a place that you can fill up your tires with air, and that right there will start damaging your tires because you're going to wear them out quicker because of that bigger footprint on the road, because asphalt and cement like to eat rubber. That's the whole point by it. That's why we air up our tires. So when we air up our tires at the end of the trail, at the end of the day, your adventure, it's time to air up so you can hit the road. How do you go about doing it? It's kind of the same thing. You have an air up system, which I will show you guys in a second. It's down on the ground. You have an air up system. You hook it up to your battery, unless you have one that's hard mounted. You flip the switch, you hook up your hoses, and you start airing up your tires, whether that's all 4 tires at once. That's what this can do. I can do all 4 of my tires at one time, and it makes the process go much quicker, if you will. It's just faster. Or you can do it 1 tire at a time. There's, once again, no right or wrong way of doing it, as long as you get your tires back up to the pressures that you need. For instance, when I do it, it's all 4 tires. I hook it all up, I flip the switch, I watch my gauge, that tire sensor gauge on the Jeep, just because this thing is normally 5 PSI off, and I fill it up. I watch it. Once I hit it, turn it off, I disconnect everything. I'm ready to go back onto the road, and it's up and done in less than 10 minutes. It's awesome. Now let's go ahead and show you guys. It's super simple, but there are lots of people out there that don't understand the concept of airing down and airing up the tires. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you air down your tires, and then I'm going to show you just how simple it is to air up your tires at the end of the day, guys. It's very simple, and if you haven't bought an air up system because you're sticker shocked by prices on them and things like that, there are lots of different options out there that are very expensive and very affordable. And you just have to keep in the mindset of, this is a piece of recovery gear. Recovery gear isn't cheap. If it's a really cheap piece of recovery gear, it normally doesn't work very well. So you have to keep in the mindset that sometimes your recovery gear is going to be expensive, and you just have to look at the prices and go, is it worth it? I've had my system for over a year now. Never had an issue with it, and it was one of the cheaper options out there. So we'll get into that at the end of the video, but let's go ahead, air down the Jeep, and show you just how simple that is, guys, and then we will air it back up. Let's get to it. All right, guys, so we're gonna do this a little differently than what I would normally do. I'm gonna show you both how to do it with the little tire deflators and with the hoses. So what I'm going to do is, let me turn you here a little bit. The fronts, I'm going to use the little tire deflators. I'm gonna show you just how simple it is to put them on, and the process that it's going to go through to air it down, and it's going to stop once it hits about 15 psi. Okay? Then the backs, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to use the hoses. Now, remember, I have it to where my hoses can do all 4 tires at once. When it comes to airing down, you can hook up a single hose and just let the air out, or yeah, single hose to a tire, just let the air out, and it's just fine. When it comes to airing up, it's a different story. We'll get to that. But I'm going to use the hoses on the back and show you just how easy it is to air those down to the correct PSI. Cap off. On. And just like that, guys, it's now letting air out until it hits 15 PSI. Alright guys, the fronts are deflating. They don't need any assistance. They don't need to be watched. They're just going to stop when they hit there. Now let's do these back tires. So what's fun about my tire deflators or inflation system is these can be used, like I said, to deflate the tires as well. So it's just as simple as the front. You're going to unscrew the cap, take this, and hook it up, and there we go. What you were hearing was air was starting to release out of it because I had the valve open. I just closed it so you can hear me. Now I'm going to hook up the other side, and then I'm going to show you just how simple it is to deflate your tires with this system. I've got it all hooked up, and hopefully this will show. It's telling me I have about 33.7 psi in the back. Remember, this thing is 5 psi off. So there's actually 5 more pounds in the tires than what this is telling me. So this is super simple. Like I said, knowing that this is 5 off, I can use this. Otherwise, you can use the Jeep. And if you can tell, the fronts are just about done airing it down. They're going into their like last little bit. But this is super simple. So we have this. Y'all see the mark? All I do is pull this valve up. I can stop it, and this is going to start telling me what the PSI is. And you have to let it stop to do it. It's not going to just keep reading it out, especially if you're not doing all 4 tires. All 4 tires, this will start reading down the number for you. When it's just 2, it doesn't have it. So just keep letting it go. We're about 31.3. And you're just going to keep letting it go until it hits your desired number. Like I said, now if this doesn't work, you can always just flick it off, let it go, and go read it off of your vehicle's monitoring system for the tires. If it doesn't have a little gauge, this is this simple, and once it gets to the number you're wanting, you can run over there and turn it off. This way is slightly more time consuming, if you will. It doesn't take as long as the fronts, like it takes about the same amount of time, but it's because you have to sit here and monitor it. It seems like it takes forever. All right, that was super simple, right guys? So, like I said, really simple to do. The tires are now all deflated down to 15 psi. And now, let me finish closing that up. It is time to air up the tires. And airing up the tires is very, very straightforward. So I've gone ahead, and I'm going to show you guys here in a second, is I've gone ahead and hooked up all 4 of my hoses to my tires. So all 4 tires are connected to hoses and are ready to be aired up. And I'm going to hook it up to my air up system. And what I use a Moreflate system. I use their 10.6 twin compressor air up system. They're not a sponsor of the channel, but this is what I use, and it's just this simple. Take it out. Now mine You can either hard mount it up and do all the wiring things, or you can just leave it as a mobile system where you just bring it out, you hook it up to the battery, hook up the hoses, and you flip the switch and it airs it up. Once it's done, you disconnect it all, wrap it all up, put it away. And it goes with all my recovery gear underneath my platform system, and it fits perfectly and stays clean out of the way. And like I said before, this has never failed me. I know you can't see my head, but you can hear my voice. That's what matters. So, twin air up system, 2 twin compressors. On the back here, you have our hose for hooking up into our inflator system. Just that simple, guys. And if you want, you can open the valve already, and now it's ready for air to go in, but it's nice and hooked up. Set that all the way. You have your battery terminals, negative, positive. These go on the battery. I'll show you in a second. Once they're hooked up, you have your little switch here that turns it on or off. Always, always, always leave it in the off position before connecting it to your battery. Otherwise, it's going to kick on the second you connect it, and that's not good for it. So make sure it is off. So we have the hood open on the Jeep. You obviously have to have it open if you want to get to the battery. Now on my Jeep and most Jeeps, the battery is on this side of the Jeep, which is the passenger side. Whatever side your battery is on is the side you need to be on. And yes, your compressor will have to be a little close up to your rig. I will show you guys that in a little bit, just so that the cables can reach. Now, before I hook up these cables, there was one thing I wanted to explain to you guys before I did it. It is very important, like I said before, that the compressor is off before you hook it up. Just because you don't want that thing to start drawing power before you get as you're hooking it up, because you can actually spark within your engine bay here. 2, your engine, you can either have it running or you can have it off when you hook it up, but your engine needs to be running when you're airing up your system. And this kind of falls under the same category as why you have your engine running when the winch is operating, because this thing is going to draw power from your battery, and if you're not careful, it's trying to fill up everything and it will zap your battery to a point where it won't start. So having your engine on is a must when you are airing up your tires. Now, whether you turned it off to hook everything up or left it running, it doesn't matter. I have mine off because I'm talking to you guys, and it's 1,000 times easier to hear me than, having this on and me trying to shout at you. But you just need to have this running when you're airing up your tires. Now, most of the time you're getting done on the trail, unless you have other people with you and you're going to sit there and chat. A lot of times you're getting done on the trail, you're just going to pull off to the side and take everything out, air it up, and you're just going to leave the engine running the whole time. That's what I do 90% of the time on my adventures, is I just leave the engine running until everything's aired up, and then I get to where I want to afterwards. So let's go ahead, hook this up. It's super simple, guys. Literally, negative, positive, red, black. And I'm saying that because there are those people out there that let's put the black on the red and the red on the black. Don't do that. You're going to screw a lot of things up, including your battery. So, black, red. Now, I've said it in another video, and I'm going to say this again. These little clamps are like baby little clamps. You have to be very thoughtful about where you put these so they don't just snap off. And you don't want them to snap off and hit each other, especially if one's still connected. So on the negative, there's this, on the positive, there's this little tiny lip to it that sticks up on mine. So I always connect it to that, and it holds it perfectly. So what's next? Next is turning on the engine, turning on the compressor, and then I'm going to show you what I do to watch everything air up. Okay, it's telling me what it is. It's telling me everything's at about 15 PSI. Perfect. Because the engine's running, we can go ahead and hit that. And because, like I said, the little gauge doesn't work all the time right for me, I watch it from inside the Jeep, so that's what we're gonna do. So this is technically what I do. Normally I just sit outside the Jeep with the window open and I just watch this as it climbs. But for the most part, this thing airs up my tires pretty evenly all the way around, and then I will stop it once it hits, like all 4 tires are the PSI that I need them to be at. And it's just as straightforward, guys. I just get out and I flip the switch. Normally, like I said, most of the time I'm sitting here with the door shut, window down, and I'm just watching it. Or I'm walking around doing a few other things, because this takes roughly, I don't know, about five-ish minutes to air up all my tires to where I need it to. So I will see you all once we get there, because no one wants to sit here and just watch me watch tires inflate. It's like watching paint dry. And just like that, the tires are inflated. It's that simple. Really, that simple. Now, like I just did, I turned off the engine, I disconnected everything. Everything's turned off. Now it's just winding everything up and putting things away. And just like that, guys, we are all aired up. It's that simple. You can air down your tires, go have an awesome adventure, whether it's multiple days, just for the day, a trail. Get done, air it back up, and you're on your way. It's that simple, guys. This whole process for airing up, pulling everything out, airing it up, putting it all away, takes me about 7 minutes. That's it. That's as long as I'm sitting there off to the side of the trail at the end, and then I'm on my way to my next adventure or on my way home. That is how quick and easy it is. And airing down my tires just means that I have saved my back and have been more comfortable, and I have protected the rig more by not having things shaken loose, and it has some extra cushion to absorb some of the impact. And it is so important, guys. Like I said, you know, it's an air up system. They're not the cheapest thing out there, but they are worth it, and it is a piece of recovery gear I believe you should have. Now, it doesn't matter if you have these little tire deflators, which if I can find them again on Amazon, I will leave a link in the description, or a Morflate system, or a system just like it, whether it's A or B or something like that. I will leave a link in the description to Morflate's site for them. Like I said, they're not a sponsor of the channel, guys. Their product works, and I've been enjoying it. But whether it's hoses, deflators, or just a single tire deflator at a time, guys, it doesn't matter how you air them up or air them down. There's no right or wrong way. This is just how you do it, because there are a lot of people out there that simply don't understand the concept of airing them down and airing them up, and they think it's a very complicated thing, and I wanted to prove to you guys that it's not. It was that simple. Airing them down takes maybe about 4 minutes, if that, depending on how fast your deflators air things down, and then airing it up, like I said, guys, the whole process for me, 7 minutes. But that is it, guys. So simple. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you found this very helpful and very informational. I enjoy doing these things for you guys. If you guys have any other videos you'd like me to show you for how it works, leave a comment below, and I will look into doing that for you guys, because I enjoy doing these videos. It is a lot of fun for me. Also, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. If you have not already, hit that button. I am working on getting to 2,000 subscribers. I know it seems like a really small number for a lot of people, but for me, that is a huge, huge number, and I think we can do it by the end of the year, but I need your guys' help by hitting that button. Also, if you want to keep up to date on what I've got going on in the background and in my day-to-day life, check out my social media accounts, my other social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook. I'm constantly keeping those updated on what I have going on. And if you saw my update video, there's a lot of things that have been happening in the background that I am just not filming for you guys, because I just find it easier to just give you guys little updates here and there. Also, if you want more of an exclusive up-to-date on what's been happening and a sooner access to content, a link in the description to my Patreon page, guys. Go ahead and check that out. If you guys would like to help contribute to the channel, it is greatly appreciated. And like always, thank you all once again for joining me. A list of parts that I use on the Jeep is in the description below, and I will catch you all next time out on the trail.